The views and opinions expressed by John and DJ do not reflect those of any intelligent or rational human being and are solely the property of the Brightside Chat.
We don't have time to mess around.
Let's just go.
Let's just do this. Yep, there you go. You've got your issues. I've got I've got mine.
Yes.
We are recording. We are already in the store.
We are.
John, this is a hell of a vacation, huh?
It is. So far.
So just to fill everybody in, we are both pretty far under the weather.
Yeah.
John, a little worse off than me. We are both on vacation, so we were going to take this week off, but we thought Hawkeye deserved the attention. So we powered through. And here we are.
Right now I'm rethinking that decision. But
this is our what, 5th, 6th, 10th attempt at the show.
I don't know. We had a rough beginning.
Yeah, very rough. But it kind of cheered us up. I got tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
So hard. But let's get the pleasantries out of the way. How was your Christmas, other than your sniffles?
It was great. Yeah, Christmas was great. Yeah, I had a really good day.
You had everybody to the house.
I did, yeah. Everybody was here. We had a big house full of people, good food, good day. So that was great. And then, Sunday night, I started to feel a little iffy. And then yesterday got worse. And then now today is...
Anybody else with what's going on in the world, anybody else in your family feeling sick or anything like that?
No.
That's good.
So far, just me. My son-in-law, they didn't come because he actually came down with coronavirus, but they didn't come to Christmas.
Okay.
He was not feeling well, so they stayed home.
When did he get it? Just recently?
Just recently, yeah. He got tested Friday, got his results back Sunday morning, but he wasn't. They didn't come, or like I said, they didn't come to the house, so it wasn't from them. And as far as I know, nobody else is sick except me. So
right. Yeah. And to be clear, we don't even know what you have. It could be the flu.
No, I don't think it's. Yeah, I just think it's.
Yeah.
I don't think it's corona. Of course, I don't know, but I feel it's just like crud.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I have. Mine is just how I've been sounding. If you've been listening to this podcast, I've had this ongoing thing since last December.
Right.
It's like I literally have had a stuffed head since last December, and Jen keeps telling me to get it. The doctors. I've been to the doctors. I've had things checked, and they're like, I got to go for an allergy test.
Problem is that's the only thing keeping your head up.
Exactly.
You start messing with that.
Yeah, I know. Look at you. even in your sullen state.
I know, right? I can still throw a haymaker.
Careful, and put me down for the count. But no,
I might fall with you. I'm gonna be like Rocky. He's gonna throw a punch and we're both going down.
10 count. They're both out.
Yeah.
That's so. Yeah, it's and it's the thing I have is I take Zyrtec like almost every day. If I can get through a day without it, it's good.
Right.
But I'll just all of a sudden, just my head will just start like watering. My eyes, my nose, everything just starts watering, and which is awful in this day and age because everybody looks at you like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, trust me,
especially right now. Yeah,
yeah, it's like, and this happened in the summer. It happens and today in particular, I'm thinking maybe I do have something else, like a cold or something, because my head's even stuffier, and I got a little bit of a cough, and I just feel.
Well, that's the thing.
Crap.
You don't even want to cough in public because
God, no.
Everybody runs away from you, and
well, that's kind of a good thing for me.
They grab their pitchforks. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Start lighting fires.
Yeah, yeah. So anyways, so that's the good news. My Christmas was weird, weird. Both of my kids, my daughter had to work. She's a nurse.
Oh, yeah, she's a nurse.
So she had to work this year, and she was actually kind of glad she did because next year she gets Christmas off. because they won't book you back to back. And next year's her first Christmas being married, so
right.
But she was kind of bummed when they scheduled her though, because she was hoping that this is her last Christmas at home.
Right.
And so I was like, you know what? That's good though, because that means last year was your last Christmas at home where we do, and it's not a sad occasion. You didn't know it was the last one. So now you're like, so we ended up doing our family Christmas Sunday night. Because she worked Sunday too. So she came home from work Sunday, and it was like, Santa had showed up and all the presents were under the tree, and we had the cinnamon buns and stuff out in the morning. Oh, nice. And we did our whole Christmas. But what stunk is my family Christmas was Monday night. So that I didn't have that. Jen's family Christmas was Christmas Eve. So Jen and I sat in the house alone on Christmas Day. And we're like, well, I guess we got to get used to this, because this is what it's like. That's the plan. We went over to my sister's house just for something to do at 4:00 on Christmas Day. And she's got 3 little kids. Well, she's got a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old. Right. And they all came up to us, and we left there, and Jen's like, you know what? You're not going to be that bad as a grandfather. Yeah. Because I was like playing with because I was jonesing for something.
Right. Something to do.
Right. And I was like, I see how grandparents do it. They've got nothing else to do. So, they were, even my sister was like, wow, you were really good. Because I'm not a kid person. I don't like kids. I don't like, I coached for years, but I'm in control there. It's where they run around. I'm like, nah, I'm a grouch, but I wasn't.
Well, look at me. Me too.
Yeah.
But it's different. Yeah. You change around like your grandkids and stuff.
Yeah. Cause they go home or you do.
or you do. Yeah. I'm still kind of a grouch, but a little bit less.
You and me both. That's where we are very similar.
Yes.
So
I am not. Yeah, I'm not a big people person either, which is funny in the business that I chose to be in. But I'm very content to sit, even alone, really. But I'm happy just sitting with my wife on the couch watching TV. I'm good,
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's evident by our real world.
Oh, and I'll tell you what. When we come back next week, I got like real world you don't even know.
I'm hoping the same.
It's been 3 weeks that we haven't talked about it, and I've just been keeping a running tab of everything. I've been watching.
Well, hopefully,
plus this week being off the whole week. Yeah, it's like I'm gonna have we're gonna have to devote a whole show to real world.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you know what I haven't been doing though, and I think I do, and it relates to the show. I think I'm going to read that Hawkeye. The one that whichever one.
I was looking at that last night.
But I haven't read really any comics in the last week and a half.
Oh, really? See, I read all my comics last week.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah, because I don't want to get super behind on comics. So I kept up with that, and because I have a book I'm reading too. But yeah, as far as real world goes, I've got a running list going.
Nice.
So.
But yeah, I'm hoping to catch up on comics this week. I'm hoping to read that Hawkeye. That series and watch.
It's only about 22 issues. It's not that long.
Yeah. So, but yeah. All right. You want to talk Hawkeye?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing today.
That's why we're
straight
here.
Out. We're straight out. Let's talk
another
Hawkeye
spoiler show. Yeah.
Season 1. And we'll start spoiler free as we always do. All right. Spoiler free, right off the bat. We have like no rhyme or rhythm today. That we're just like, all right, what are we doing next? I know you liked it. We both liked it.
I did.
So let's just jump to where do you put it as far as the shows? Not in the entire MCU, but the shows.
I think I put it right behind WandaVision.
Okay. Really? That's good. So you put it ahead of Loki.
I do, yeah. I ended up really enjoying it. It started slow.
Yeah.
It started slow the first couple of episodes. By episode 3, I think, is when it really started to crank up some. But yeah, at the end of the day, I ended up enjoying it quite a bit. It doesn't have the impact of a Loki or even a WandaVision, on the bigger MCU. I mean, it does bring, we're in kind of spoilers, even though everybody already knows this. But it does introduce a new big bad guy into the MCU. But it didn't do anything. Like there's no multiverse, there's no anything like that going on. It was just fun. It was in the kind of along the same lines as Falcon Winter Soldier, but I actually thought this was a little bit more fun. And I think it was just the chemistry with Renner and Kate there. What's her name? Haley Steinfeld.
Haley Steinfeld.
I thought they were great. I thought he did really. Yeah, I thought he did great, and I thought she was awesome.
Yes.
And Yelena stole the show to me, honestly. Like she was just fantastic.
Well, I would say when we get into the spoilers and stuff like that, we could talk more about it, but I wouldn't say she necessarily stole the show. I think it was her relationships with both characters that I thought, and the way that was played off, which makes that character Yelena steal the show. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it was great acting by the actor. I don't know what her name was, but I don't remember her name.
Florence Pugh.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So, you know what I mean? But I guess the way you said it is actually correct. Like Yelena, the character, kind of, it wasn't something we were expecting.
Like you said, it's the personality. It was the kind of the relationship with Kate. Even, again, we're not trying to get into spoilers, but obviously there was a relationship with Clint as well.
Right.
Like I said, I'm not saying she was, I guess I don't want to say like she was the best part of the show, but like she came in and really
very unexpectedly was great.
Great.
You didn't see that coming.
Like her character was already great from Black Widow.
Right.
Like you already knew you wanted to see more of her because of the way she was. Like she's kind of like, this deadly assassin, but she's also a little girl talking about the pockets on her vest and and so all that stuff was a lot of fun. And it kind of translated into this with the macaroni and cheese and all this other stuff. And you end up wanting to see more of both of them, of Kate and.
Well, we'll get into that in spoilers. But I thought, I mean, for me, I put it as the best show. I have it, slightly above Wanda because I thought it had Christmas, archery, and then what I wasn't
your two favorite things.
Exactly. And then, but what the other part that I wasn't expecting, which it's hard to, I wasn't expecting it to be this good. And it's not Yelena, but it was something that you knew you were getting in the show, like Yelena. But you were like, wow, it really kind of blew me away. And it's the father-daughter relationship.
Right.
That to me with my daughter, I'm like, because my daughter is a lot like Kate Bishop or like Yelena. She's a lot like me, right? So we butt heads like they do in this show. We do. So I could see that all the way through the show. But then the other part was, and I know that, I mean, this is spoiler free. You know that that's the two of them in the show, but it was also, it's a father-daughter relationship after the kid's grown up. And your friends, like we both have, adult kids now, and being friends with them you're still a father-daughter or father-son relationship, but it's a friendship now, and that's what I liked about that whole relationship. So like going back through the show, the humor, the everything that put into it, I thought that was as much of an impact to the show as, say, the MCU impact that WandaVision and Loki brought. Right. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's what, in the show itself I thought was a very tight, concise show unto itself with little MCU impact.
Right.
But it actually had a very little bit of MCU impact that we've been hoping for years. And we'll get to that. But I thought that part, those three things right there, that's what puts it above WandaVision. And I mean, what's one of the things we loved about Loki was the relationship between Tom Hiddleston and what's his name?
Sylvie. Oh,
not Sylvie. The back and forth between the two of them.
Yeah, Owen Wilson.
Yeah. That was a great. Well, this show had that. You know what I mean? This show had it in 2 different places by the end of it, right? So you had that, and then the WandaVision I thought was just so creatively done, and the MCU impact, and that's what made that show great. But this show here, I just thought, like I said, Christmas, archery, and father-daughter relationship, it's like, to me, I'm like, what are you going to do? It's like, exactly. It's like written for me.
Right.
So that's, I mean, how do you not? So that's where I have it.
Cool. Yeah. Like I said, I think we're not far off. Like I said, I really liked WandaVision. I really like Wanda. You know, I like Lizzie Olsen a lot.
Yeah.
And I thought the emotional impact of that show, the grief and all that stuff was pretty powerful.
Yes.
And like you said, just the creativity of it, I thought gives a little bit of an edge for me. But yeah, that being said, I really liked Hawkeye a lot.
Right.
Just like you said, so many things that were unexpected. And, you know, never having read that Hawkeye run, you know, people that read it probably saw some of this coming more than I did, but like even the Tracksuit Mafia, all that stuff was great. That guy came back again with the Imagine Dragons thing in the finale, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to fight now, but before we do, thank you so much for that tip with my girlfriend, you know? It's like, that stuff was just funny. Like, it was just really good. So
Right.
I just had a great time watching it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So let's get right into it then. We'll get into the spoilers here. I will take the liberty, since I'm closer to the door.
You are.
And you're
let down the handle.
You're laid out on a cot.
Yeah, I know. I shouldn't even be here spreading this around the store, but
it's just me. But we are appropriately social distancing with a country.
We are, yes. Several states.
Several, exactly. I felt, let's jump to it. This isn't really a spoiler, but one of the things that I really did like about this show is how well grounded it was.
Yes.
Because that's the character of Clint.
Right.
He doesn't have any powers. He's not, I mean, he was injured the entire time, which I thought was great. And the same with Kate Bishop, what Haley Steinfeld they all had those bandages on themselves. And I even liked in, what was it, like the first couple of episodes where he was actually showing her how to like suture stuff and heal themselves, because like, look, you're going into a whole new world here where you don't heal like Thor. You know, like you're going to get hurt. You're fighting gods and monsters, to take, you know, Black Widow's line or earlier in Avengers, but that was what was so much fun about the show. And to me was like, that actually it was that powerful, being that grounded, like WandaVision was with the magic and Loki was with the multiverse.
Right.
You know what I mean? They all had, this one here is entertaining. Those were entertaining because of those things. And this was entertaining because it didn't have any of that. It actually just, to the point, like you said about the Tracksuit Mafia, like you couldn't have a more mundane villain. For most of the show, just a bunch of guys in, right? Like you couldn't get any more mundane. It's like they're literally just in sweatsuits.
Yeah. Well, and even with Echo, you know, again, just a girl at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Like she knows how to fight. But that's it. Like no superpowers. You know, she's deaf, but she doesn't have like the whole Daredevil thing going on where she has like all these hyper senses and all that stuff. It's like, hey, I'm disabled, I'm deaf, I've lost a leg, I've got all of this, but I still can fight.
She keeps trucking along.
Right. And like you said, there was no superpowered anything in here till you get to the end with the biggest non-spoiler in the world, besides Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, is Vincent D'Onofrio.
Right.
Being here. You know, he is quote unquote a superpowered villain to some degree.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, my only real criticism of the show was kind of him at the end. I think Kate held her own just a little bit too well.
I thought the same thing.
Him.
I thought
like he really should have just laid her out, you know, and that would have been it. So that was a little bit.
I had that like same criticism.
She's the hero. He's not, but like he should have had a he holds his own with Spider-Man. With well, I say Daredevil doesn't have superpowers either, but
right,
but Spider-Man for sure does, and Kingpin holds his own there. So Kate, I mean, at the end of the day, he was kind of done in by the arrows and not her. Like she didn't beat him down,
right?
But
right.
she kind of held her ground, like 1 or 2 times being thrown against the wall by Kingpin, and she shouldn't have been getting back up.
Right.
So I thought that was a little bit. I was like, okay, but like I said, she's the hero of the show. He's the bad guy. The heroes are always going to prevail. So
to play off of that. One other small criticism that I will get these both out of the way right now. I felt that they did one of the strengths of the show, and we've said this all along as the shows were going along, is that I loved what they did with Clint in that they made him, they showed how powerful he really is, right?
Right.
And how great of an archer he is, how smart of a tactician he is. And even though he quietly went through the MCU, but this is how he was able to fight Thanos, be able to fight these different, gods and monsters, with basically just his, skills as a, not just a bow and arrow. He can use anything, which I thought was great with the bottle cap and stuff. But they showed how powerful he is, and one of my slight little pickadoos was I didn't like that they put Kate so close to him this early on.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that
goes to your like a little bit. She was a little Rey Skywalker. It was kind of like, all right, I like right off the bat, like they established very early on that she, had been studying archery and fencing and all that stuff for most of her life. She was a martial artist, so like they laid the groundwork that, there was some,
she clearly has had training.
Right. But like you said, he's been in the field. He was a SHIELD agent. Yeah. He was all of this stuff for years and years and years.
He's above Black Widows. And those, he was sent to kill a Black Widow, which Black Widow, you don't kill Black Widows. Black Widows can't be, they kill you. Right. And he was sent to take one out. And he is the top. He is, for all intents and purposes, for anybody that doesn't know who Hawkeye is, he is like Deadshot from, or he is, Will Smith from...
It is Deadshot.
Yeah, Deadshot. He's that guy in the MCU, right? And because he doesn't just have to use a bow. He can use anything. And we mentioned it a couple weeks ago when we were talking about how he shot Fury in the chest in Avengers, but he didn't kill him, even though he was under Loki's spell. So he knew what he was doing. He's that good of a shot. And then to take her, and I don't mind her being really good. I would have liked to have seen her just be down a little bit more, and maybe, like you said, with that Kingpin battle at the end, maybe she gets saved by, Echo shows up and actually does what she did at the end and saves her, as opposed to, Kate held her own and got out of there and everything. I don't know, but it's such a small thing because the show was so entertaining and it was so, basically they just sped it up.
You don't want to try to again, we're two white guys. Like, you don't want to depower the female characters. You know what I mean? No. By saying she has to be saved or anything like that. Yeah,
but she would have been saved by another female character in my scenario. But
it just in the comic book world, she just shouldn't have been able to hold her own like that against him. And that's the thing. It's not like I don't want any angry emails or tweets.
No. But I wasn't even thinking that. I was just thinking her progression was too quick, and I don't have a problem with. I mean, even thinking of the ending where she's like, what do you think of Lady Hawk? Which was pretty funny because I was like, I actually
That's
went
a movie with Matthew Broderick and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, I know. I went to IMDb. I was like, was Jeremy Renner in that as a kid or something? And he wasn't.
Oh, was he?
No,
Okay.
he wasn't. But I thought that would have been funny.
It would have been.
But I liked how they ended it, and she kept coming up with other names. And then he goes, "What do you think of?" And then they just end it with Hawkeye across. So she's the new Hawkeye, right? Because most of the MCU, he never was referred to as Hawkeye.
No, it wasn't. It was always just Clint.
Clint Barton, whatever it was. So
really, it was her calling him Hawkeye throughout this whole show.
Yeah,
it's really the only time.
The only other time it was uttered was when he called his daughter that.
Right.
Remember in Endgame, and he's like, "Hey, nice shot, Hawkeye." And then of course they wrap the whole show up with them walking away, and you see that target is still sitting there on the tree, which was pretty cool.
It was cool.
It was actually pretty cool seeing the whole the ranch, the whole area, the farmland and everything, and seeing all of that in happier times. Because how many times I've watched Endgame and you see that scene and you're like, this is just depressing.
Right.
It's like, and then in the middle of Endgame, he comes back and can't go, because they're experimenting. He has to come back and get something.
Right.
That was brutal. But this was so much better. But yeah, those are the two flaws. I can't really think of anything else, but
no, I can't either. Like I said, it was, again, it was really enjoyable all the way through. I just, like I said, found myself right there at the end, being like, I don't know about this.
Yeah,
but
do you we're talking about Kingpin? Do you think he's dead?
Oh no, absolutely not.
So what do you think happened to him?
They didn't bring him back just to get rid of him.
I know.
Well, I mean, he got shot, right? But he's Kingpin, right? He's got like 97 layers of blubber there that probably...
It looked like she was going to shoot him in the face. Doesn't he go blind in the comics? I thought there was I thought in the comics I don't know. Where did I hear that? I heard it somewhere, but I thought he went blind.
He might
in the
have.
comics.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But like, I don't imagine we get the Echo show without him being part of it, for one thing.
I'm hoping we get the entire, we get Daredevil back, we get Echo, they all I mean, with Disney Plus, it's why not?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, again, you bring him back, because, the same thing will go, spoilers to Spider-Man, but like, if all we ever see of Matt Murdock again was that scene, because there's no guarantee we see him again either. No. It's just, okay, there he was, and there's your, we whet your appetite, see ya, So it could be kind of the same. We told you
they're in there. No.
Yeah, it could be kind of the same with D'Onofrio, but I just don't think you go to the trouble of bringing them back.
No.
And he's already on social media talking about how he wants to continue playing the character.
I haven't seen that. I've seen him say thank you and Kingpin is back, but I didn't hear that he wants to continue, which
he is saying he wants to continue. But to me, it's a big miss if you don't bring him back in some form in the next Spider-Man. You got to get Spider-Man involved. You got to get Daredevil and Spider-Man involved.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Marvel Comics are. So
yeah. Over the holidays, I can't remember what gathering I was at, but we were talking about how somebody said, maybe was it you and I talking? I don't know. Somebody said Spider-Man didn't cross. Oh, we talked about it in Spider-Man, but I was talking about it in the holidays and how he showed up in the Daredevil.
Oh, we were
run
talking
with
about
Zdarsky.
But
I was telling somebody else about Zdarsky's
run
run and how in book 3, you turn the page and you're like, there he is. And it was he was more of the father figure to Matt in that scene, right? Because he was chastising him in that series, which was weird, but it's still that's how powerful,
and it's
Peter
how
Parker and Spider-Man
it's how
is.
respected Spider-Man is as a character in the MCU.
Right.
Maybe not so much in the MCU, but in the Marvel universe, in the comics universe, You know,
Right.
again, he's the best of us, right? That's what they all say. Now, some would argue that Captain America is the best of them, but
Right.
but you know, he sets the ideal, and they haven't really taken it that way in the MCU yet, but maybe they will. But like to me, Spider-Man 4, you know, we already established at the end of, you know, we're gonna talk spoilers about Spider-Man 2, so tough luck if you haven't seen it. The embargo's off by now.
Yeah, exactly.
But like if Spider-Man 4 isn't like a street level movie with like Kingpin and Daredevil, something's wrong. You know, like to me, that's what
exactly
they should be. Because that's how they set him up.
Yep.
That's how they set him up at the end of that movie, was to be more street level, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man kind of thing. And you know, it's New York, it's Hell's Kitchen. You know, you got Daredevil back and you got Kingpin back. So
yeah. Yeah, and that's I know I wasn't expecting to talk Spider-Man, but I'm always up for it. But
yeah, it just kind of naturally crosses though, because
it did, because
characters should.
I mean, going by timeline, Daredevil, this show Hawkeye is the one that started it all the talk about Daredevil coming back, because that was the day before Spider-Man dropped. So if you watched Hawkeye on time, you saw Kingpin before you saw Matt Murdock show up in Spider-Man.
Well, and I think the big speculation came once it was announced that Echo was going to be part of Hawkeye, because in the comics, there's a huge connection between Kingpin and Echo in the comics.
Adopted daughter, practically.
So
right?
I think once they made the announcement that, hey, we cast Echo for this show, people were immediately thinking, oh, well, they must be bringing Kingpin back.
Right.
And then that's a small leap to saying, oh, well, if you're going to bring Kingpin back, then you can go ahead and bring Matt back too.
You're bringing the Netflix series into it.
Yeah. And they could have recast Kingpin. Like they could have said, oh, we're going to have Kingpin, and it could have been somebody completely different, but there's no reason to do that. Like, why would you ever do that?
The Netflix series was so popular because it was so well done. I mean, it was done by the MCU.
Well, it was, you know, it was Marvel TV. Jeff Loeb did that stuff, and he was a big Marvel guy. And the original intent, like we said last week, was that they were part of the MCU.
Right.
Like the shows were not supposed to be separated. I don't know at what point they kind of became separated, but
because they actually have a few like scenes.
There was some references
to
the big event, and which was the Chitauri invasion, you know, and
there was some there was a purchase made by what's her name? She played the lawyer.
Karen?
No.
Deborah Ann Wool?
No. The one, she's in the Matrix too.
Carrie Ann Moss.
Carrie Ann Moss, and she met somebody and bought some tech or something. I remember at a waterfront, and it was a guy that was in the MCU, and that was the closest they came from it. Like he was somebody that I don't remember the exact details, but I remember thinking like, okay, that's actually from the MCU.
Right.
And I mean, Daredevil season 1 was tons of references to the event.
Right. We just didn't see it. Yeah, we
saw headlines on the wall in the reporter's office. We saw all sorts of stuff.
It's but just at some point they backed away. Well, it was the same thing with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too.
Yeah.
Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. started out very firmly.
Yeah, Fury was in it.
In the MCU.
Yeah.
Right. You had Fury, you had Coulson, you had Sif, Jamie Alexander.
Yep. Yeah, she showed that was all season 1. And
right, and lots of that stuff. Through. And then at some point they pulled away from that to the point where, like, did we just recast Mockingbird in Hawkeye? Because that's the big speculation now is, you know, who's the wife? You know, Agent 19 in the comics is Mockingbird, is Bobby Morse. So that is weird though, because if you're bringing back Mockingbird, like, why isn't it, you know, Adrian Palicki or whatever her name is? Like, why are you recasting? So
that made me think.
So that makes you think it's not the MCU or it's a multiverse. Like, who knows? But
well, what about this? What if she's not Mockingbird? What if her sister was Mockingbird and that was her sister's, and and that's how they met, or that's how, you know what I mean? Like, because they never said. Did they actually like actually say this is yours, or it's just sentimental to her?
They didn't say this is you. Well, I don't remember.
But she got it. He got it back.
But he got it back for her. But you know, if you go through the show, like she is more than just like
the wife at home.
The wife at
home,
right?
Very tech savvy. She's
kind of into it. Like maybe she's a retired agent.
Like she's the guy in the seat, like behind the keyboard for him.
So yeah, you think that she had some kind of background,
right?
Now again, maybe it's I don't know if
I'm
it's
pretty good with Google too,
right?
As you can tell by the open of our show, I'm very. I
don't know if it's a 007 thing where like they didn't retire Agent 19. It's not like hanging from the bleachers at Fenway Park or anything. So maybe there was another Agent 19. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It could be that she was also Agent 19, but not
that
Mockingbird.
One. Right.
But again, if you go back to the comics, this big relationship, like Clinton and Mockingbird were married at one point. Like there's a relationship with those characters in the comics. So like they were in the West Coast Avengers and all that stuff. So it would make sense that she would be Mockingbird because it also puts a little bit more, like maybe S.H.I.E.L.D. hid them just for Clint, but it could also be that they were hiding them for her too.
Right.
Because, you know, she's a retired S.H.I.E.L.D. agent or what have you. So now I don't know that we see Linda Cardellini running around doing anything going in the future, but it could just be, hey, this was my past and this and that. But because we don't even know that we're going to see more of this. Like, there's no Hawkeye season 2 announcement. There's no at the end of Loki, you got the Loki season 2 announcement. And I went right through the credits looking for that, and there wasn't anything. So,
there wasn't anything. And speaking of that, to get us a little bit back on the show that we're supposed to be talking about, that end credit scene was
what was that?
Funny, but I was like, that I can't figure out which is worse, that one or the one where. Like, and it's the same Captain America where Chris Evans does the, oh, we got to do this, right? And it's it's like, no, you stuck sometimes you stick around for nothing. Like,
maybe I didn't. Maybe I don't need to. I kept looking for something to happen.
Yeah.
So you didn't stop watching it. That's the problem. Is you have to watch it.
You have to watch it in like practically in slow motion because I was like, oh no, you know what I thought? I thought they were going to pan the audience and Chris Evans was going to be in the audience,
right?
And be as an old man or whatever, and go
something.
That's not me,
right?
Like this, or like this is bull, and then it ends, right? Something like that, but nothing. And they even did the tease of they pulled back from the stage and they gave you that view of the audience, like the silhouettes of their heads. And I'm like, oh, they're going to pan on somebody here. No.
Right.
They just teased the hell out of you.
Yeah, it was just like, I don't know why we're watching this.
And they got to know that's what they're doing too. Well, you got to know they're doing this on purpose. They're like, they're going to think something's here and there's nothing. It's just.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
It's literally filler.
Yeah,
it's like
they were playing with us for sure, but they're like, we filmed this whole show, and so somewhere in here we're getting this whole number in.
Right. The only thing less impressive would have been a 5-minute clip of the Brightside chat,
right?
Taken from YouTube.
Right.
Like, oh boy, everybody would have been like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah, be looking for slow motion for nothing. So,
dude, dumb guys.
Now the one I was very surprised on who we didn't see in this whole show, which was
who?
Contessa Julia Louis-Dreyfus, because I really expected her to be like, she's the one that set Yelena on the path to Clint in the first place at the end of the Black Widow movie. And then you get to this and you believe that she's there because of her. And then you find out, like in episode 5, that she was actually hired by the mom / Kingpin.
Right, but I think she had dual motives.
Well, right. But
like, she's more than happy to do it. She'll get paid for doing what she wanted to do in the first place. Right.
But I really was kind of, by the end of it, I was like, man, we didn't see her at all. And I just kept waiting for her to pop up because, like I said, you knew
Yeah.
months ago that Yelena was going to be in the show. So I was surprised. Like I said, I was actually surprised that we didn't see her, because she's set up to be like she's going to show up throughout the MCU in the next phase, in and out.
Yeah. After this
kind of
year,
behind
right.
the scenes.
This was the year she was introduced. We got a lot of MCU this year.
Yeah,
I didn't
we
even
did.
realize it, but I think I saw it.
Oh, there was a
What did
ton.
we get? 9? Something ridiculous. It's 9.
9 projects.
9 projects were released this year, which is basically when you factor in that, what, 4 of them were, or 5 actually, if you include What If, were like they were series that ran multiple months. There was every single month of the year was filled with had MCU something or other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which you didn't even realize it going through it. All we kept wanting was the next.
There was you didn't think there was 9 things.
Yeah.
And now if we don't get 9 next year, we're all going to be mad.
Honestly, I don't think we are.
Well, we're going to get, let's see. We're going to get She-Hulk and Moon Knight and Loki for sure.
Are we getting Loki this year?
I thought we were. Maybe not, but we're for sure getting She-Hulk and Moon Knight.
Okay.
We're getting Black Panther 2. We're getting Doctor Strange 2.
Okay.
What else are we getting? I don't even know. I feel like there's at least one more movie. I'm just not remembering which one it is.
I mean, to be fair,
Thor: Love and Thunder.
That's in November, right?
Yeah. So maybe five projects, maybe 6 if they sneak in one more show. But yeah, I just don't think we're going to get 9 projects this year.
To be fair, it's 2 years worth of projects.
It was, because a lot of them were pushed.
Yeah, like Black Widow was supposed to be the year before, so that brings us down to 8. Some of these shows were supposed to be in August of 2020, including this one, I believe.
This one was supposed to be a lot earlier, and Falcon Winter Soldier, I think, was supposed to be first. And we ended up getting WandaVision instead.
Okay.
But yeah, Falcon Winter Soldier, I think, was also should have been 2020. So
I'd say
so at least 3 of those projects.
3 of those. So that would put us right on pace then.
6,
at 6 a year, which is still pretty good. I mean, it's still
because you're like every every 2 months you're getting something.
Yeah, and the shows last a couple of months, at least 6 weeks, right? So you're into 2 different months there. Maybe 3 if they pace it right.
Right.
But yeah, that's when I saw that, I was like, 9? We got all, wow, we did. And
we did. We got a lot. And it was all kind of like at the end of the year. Like it came really fast. Like,
well, WandaVision was January.
Yeah,
right?
but
we got that in January. Loki came in what, May or April or something like that?
I guess. It feels like all the movies started hitting though, like in the summer.
Yeah, they did.
They
did.
So,
and they did. That was, I think Black Widow was the first one because
but we just got bombarded with movies.
Every 2 months,
which was great. It was actually awesome, but
it's we were subject to experiments with Black Widow being day and date, and then we saw all sort Eternals. I still like Eternals. I can't wait for that on disc, but it just feels like an also ran now.
Yeah,
compared to everything else.
I liked it, but it wasn't. Even Shang-Chi, which I really liked, doesn't feel like it holds up to like Spider-Man, and
nothing holds up to Hawkeye. Here we go again. We're back on Spider-Man, but it broke $1 billion
right
in a week.
Yeah,
in a week. By Christmas Day, I remember it. Christmas morning, they said today it'll break $1 billion, and then later on the day, it was like it just broke $1 billion, and it hasn't played in China yet.
Right.
I don't know if it's going to. I don't know if they have an issue.
Not because
what happened there?
I don't know, but I know the last 2 or 3 releases they haven't had. I can't imagine what in Spider-Man would be offensive. I know they didn't want Shang-Chi because of Simu Liu and some of his history.
Happened. He said something,
and then they wouldn't take Eternals because of the same-sex relationship.
Oh, really?
But,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
I don't pay attention to what it is. I just hear the reports like, oh, it's not in China. It's not here.
But I'm trying to think of, I don't know what in Spider-Man would cause it to not run. So it might go there. And if it does, it's going to do another $1 billion just in China.
Right.
You know, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I thought that was great. Honestly, I thought, I mean, to be back like that, to do as much as it did domestically, to do over $1 billion worldwide. Just the MCU is it's so powerful. Spider-Man is so powerful.
Yeah.
It's the character, not just the entity, I should say.
Right.
Not
the
just
IP.
the character, the IP. And it's stuff like this that you got this little tiny character of Hawkeye, which is just makes a great show.
Well, he was a joke. He's a joke through the whole MCU, right? So.
Yeah. And they made it, like I said earlier, it's such a grounded show. It's so, because that's what he is. Even though, like, let's talk about that. All the specialty arrows, the Pym arrows, the Stark tech.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. And how much fun it was seeing like Haley Steinfeld, like Kate Bishop be like, oh, you got trick arrows? Oh, I can't wait to use trick arrows. And like, remember the first one on the bridge she used, like, what's this Pym one? And it turns into a giant arrow on its way down. And he just told her, he goes, aim high, like loft it in there.
And she's like, suction cup arrows? Why do we have suction cup arrows?
And then they used it and he goes, oh, I see why we have that. But yeah,
that was pretty fun.
Yeah. What about her jumping out the window at the end? Because that's how she saw him. Remember, like that's how they kind of bookend the show with her as a child watching him in Avengers, and we all know that scene. We all know that move. I mean, you know that move pretty much from the comics too.
Right.
But to see him do that and use that iconic move as the foundation for her like fascination and her drive to be a superhero. And then here she is, the show runs its course, and here she is at the end, and she's got to pull off that move, and she's got to jump out the window and basically do that. And then her landing, which I thought was great because it brought me to like, what the heck is his name? I'm going blank here. Ryan Reynolds played him. Duh.
Oh, not Deadpool.
Deadpool. Yeah. Deadpool.
Oh, okay.
Superhero landing, and she doesn't stick it. She tries to pull it off, but that's what I was thinking. Is like she landed it and she like got all crinkly with it. But she did it. She did the landed like Black Widow. She didn't flip her hair, but she does the landing, but it's all like, all right, she's a rookie. She'll get it. She'll land a superhero landing sooner or later. But I thought that was pretty cool.
And I'll tell you, the one thing I wanted to see that we didn't, unless I just missed it, and maybe if I did, I'm going to feel stupid for saying this, but like I really wanted that scene where she sat down and told him, look, I do all of this because I saw you that day. You know what I mean? When I was a kid. Did she?
Yeah, she kind of.
Like, I kind of wanted that where he's feeling bad, like where he's kind of feeling bad about himself, which he always is.
Right.
And she says, look, I do all of this. You are a hero. Like, I do all of this because I saw you jump out through my bedroom window. And like, I kind of never, I don't remember her really kind of ever.
So she did say that to him. She didn't say it that way. Like, I do all of this. Earlier on in the show, she said it to him, and it was more of an argument because he heard her say it, and he was like, yeah, you saw me do, and it was portrayed perfectly at the beginning of the show by him brushing it off. Like, you saw me do one thing. But you don't know Ronan. You don't know the things I've done in the name of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's an assassin, right?
Right.
So they brushed it off as that early, exactly what you were asking for. They did early on, and she was like, she basically was shown the way, like it was portrayed that she was just ignorant of the rest of his life. Like you saw me on that one good day. You don't know how bad I really am. And that's what he had to get over the rest of the way. And their relationship, the rest of the show was her pointing out to him, you are good. Your point, like I'm focusing on, and she never said this, but I think the basis of the show was she's focusing on all the good he's done. He's focusing on all the bad. And then at the end of the show, I think they were at the kitchen table, and that's when she basically did exactly what you said, but she pointed to everybody else in the world that looks to Hawkeye and goes, you are a hero. You inspire other people. And I think the LARPs pointed that out to it. They were used to point that out to him. Like everybody looks to him as a hero, and it's like you inspire people. And I don't think she actually said, I'll have to go back and watch, but I don't think she actually said exactly what you're saying. So you're correct. She never said, I do this because of you. But what she was saying is other people do things because of you. Other people are inspired by you. And I thought that was a great bookend to the show. You know, it's like you saw like that story arc of, you know, she's positive, he's negative, you know, kind of like this show.
Right.
So,
well, and what's funny about that is the way he felt about Natasha versus the way he feels about himself. Because she also was a killer, right? Like she was an assassin. She was a killer. She did all the same things that Clint did. But he recognizes in her that she changed and became a hero. Right. But he doesn't recognize that in himself.
But isn't that human nature, though?
They had the same arc. They came from the same place. And they ended up in the same place. It's like, oh, we were both killers. Now we're both Avengers. But you're good, and I'm still a piece of crap. And it's like, well, that's not the way it works, right?
Right.
Like,
no, exactly. But I think, isn't that like human nature? Don't we all do that? Like, you only on yourself. I mean, think of that.
People are hard on themselves.
They're hard on themselves. It's like, you know, think of like guys and men and women do it, you know, like men look at like, you look at like an Arnold Schwarzenegger and you look at, you know, Sylvester Stallone and be like, why can't I be big and muscular like that? And it's like, yeah, but that's just one facet. And women do the same thing. It's like, oh, look at that. Why can't I be like that? And it's like, but they only see the negative. We only see the negative in ourselves. But when we look at other people, we just see the positives because that's all we want to do. I think, Twitter aside, I think we are genuinely a positive species. We love to be positive about stuff. It's the negative is just what jumps out at you because, and I said this on my other podcast talking to Lee Overstreet, and it's like, I mean, Twitter, Facebook, all of these things, they have these algorithms that and experiments have been done. And you think that Twitter is a cesspool because it's all negative, right? Well, and the same with Facebook. And I read about these and heard podcasts talk about these experiments that were done, and it got me to be like, try it myself. And my home theater podcast, my home theater Twitter, and the Brightside Chat Twitter, I love reading both of them because I've cultivated them that I don't click on stuff I don't like. They're not trying to give you negative stuff. They're only giving you what you click on, but it's human nature. And Lee's the one, I was actually the one saying that by human nature, we're negative. And Lee was the one that turned me around. And he said, no, we're not negative. What it is we are positive. We click on stuff that's different. And being negative is different than our normal life, right? It's like if we just walked around miserable all the time, which some people do, but I think that's the minority. But like when you see something that's contrary to what you think, you're like, what does that mean? Oh, okay. And it wasn't until the whole Twitter thing that you realize, oh, that's what I'm doing. Once you stop doing that, everything's great. And I think that's the same here. It's like, that's Hawkeye. All he's doing is he's like looking at all the negative that he's ever done in his life, and he's putting aside all the positive. And that was the basis of this entire show. And that's how well grounded that is. That's natural human instinct. And I thought it was so good and entertaining that by the end of it, you're like, oh, it was so much fun. Like I said, Christmas, archery, and father-daughter relationship. But it was so much deeper than that.
Right.
And even get into the Yelena, right? That quick, I mean, the show was based on Kate and Clint.
Right.
But then you gave basically what, a third of the show, or maybe not even
not
a quarter of the
even.
show was like Yelena.
She
and
might have
Clint.
had 15 minutes total. You know what I mean? Like she didn't get that much.
But as soon as she showed up at the end of, what did she show up at the end of 5? I think on the rooftop. I think it was
the end of 4.
4, right? Because it was only 6. Because, I keep forgetting.
Right.
So end
and
of
then
4.
5 was the whole like, you know, her apartment
Hi,
scene
Kate
with
Bishop.
Kate.
Hi, Kate Bishop. Yeah, this is delicious, Kate Bishop.
Yeah. Are you just saying my name?
So that I know you know my name? Yes, I am Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
So
but like if you think about how much screen time she really got, it wasn't that much, but it was impactful. Like what she got, you know?
Because you wanted to see where it went with Clint too,
right?
Exactly. And you wanted to see like how do they resolve that relationship. And I was actually afraid that they were going to resolve it too quickly. Like, well, that was fat, and it did happen quickly on the ice. But
kind of because it was the end of episode 6. You know, kind of it was there. But I think they actually, like, they finally gave Natasha kind of the send off that she deserved, right? Because
oh my god, you
know, she never really got that. You know, she didn't get it in her own movie because it was before
she wasn't dead.
She wasn't dead, you know. And I mean, there was a little bit at the end of Endgame, but it was this show and that end scene where they finally kind of gave her memorial with the people that loved her and all that stuff. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it really was. And I think this show has so much potential for future relationships, like Yelena and Clint's relationship going forward. Now, does Yelena become like the symbolic new Black Widow to Clint, like the new friend, or is Kate the new Black Widow? Because he's basically adopting her. Her mom is in jail. She's kind of an orphan now. Her father is gone, died at the beginning of the show, and she's Iron Man. She has the money, right? So he takes her home, which I thought at the end of the show, I thought that was pretty cool how they delayed showing her get out of the car. Yeah. You know, and like tease you a little bit.
Is
like,
she there? She should be there, but
and then he goes, it was either her or the little owl from the tree. It's like, you coming with me? It's I did see this on social media, wherever I saw it. That owl, I think they actually was an homage to an actual owl that was in that tree.
Oh, really?
They saved an owl from that. An owl made a home in that tree, and they relocated a little. Oh, that same type of owl, whatever it is, the winter owl. I don't know, but I read that. I either read it or saw it on a YouTube video or something that somebody said that actually did happen. There was an owl living in the tree. But that was pretty cool when he took the little car of people away. The owl. Yeah. It's like, he's like,
what happens now?
Oh. He's like, I don't know. I'm going to have to ask Scott. I'm going to have to ask Scott. And then he takes it away. Like,
that was
okay.
Great.
So that's kind of gruesome because they're going to be eaten by an owl. Because, like, owls are predators. It's like, that's a tough way to go. Eaten by a giant owl.
Not fun.
No,
I would imagine.
That's pretty low on my list of ways to go. But I did have it there.
Yeah. Shrunk down and then eaten by a giant owl.
Yeah. Ironically.
Number 10.
So someday when that happens, like, oh, he called it too. Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole when she showed up, and it felt kind of clumsy, but it was really cool. Where you just kind of, like, she didn't just walk around the car. Like, what was she doing on the side of the car? When he finally goes, "Are you coming?" Like, he looks around the car and goes, "Are you coming?" And that was, you know what I mean? Like, why couldn't she just come around the corner without him beckoning her to get out of there? Was she sitting there with her seatbelt on like a little kid?
She was in the superhero pose waiting for somebody to come and tell her to move.
But it was
she could have been. It could have been like she was waiting until he went and told his wife that he brought home a stray or something like that. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like, where were you?
Yeah, why were you taking so long? All you got to do is get out of the car. I know. He's like, are you? He's unpacking all this stuff, and she just comes around the corner with like a bag.
Yeah.
Like, what was taking you? He's unloaded the whole car, and you're still standing on the side of it. But that was pretty cool. Him bringing her home. So you're like, where is that gonna go?
Yeah.
I did see that he is on for more.
He wants to. Yeah, they've said that they're not done with Clint. And they're, again, clearly not done with Kate and Yelena either. Whether it's Hawkeye season 2, I don't know.
Right.
It could be a Young Avengers thing. It could be, who knows? But they're all coming back.
Yeah.
For something.
So I feel like another season without the two of them together would be disappointing. But yet, knowing how well this was written, knowing how well they make these shows, wouldn't it? I think a Yelena Kate show would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Like a team up with those two.
Well, I was going to say maybe that's the Hawkeye Black Widow relationship, and it's not Clint and Yelena, it's Kate and Yelena.
Nice.
And now you still have your Hawkeye Black Widow friendship, but
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. So
that would be
those
fantastic.
Two, but yeah, like I said, they're definitely there's more to be seen of all of these characters. I just don't know where and when they show up next, because they haven't announced a project that makes sense for where they would show up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's no movie coming. Like we're not getting a Young Avengers movie or anything yet. So could they show up in like a She-Hulk or Moon Knight? Maybe, but I think there's projects that they're coming. They just haven't told us what they're going to be yet.
Right. And that gets to the question or the wish, I should say, this being the holiday season and us wishing stuff for Christmas. We had a wish a couple of weeks ago where we're like, wouldn't it be nice if they just dropped stuff without telling us?
Right.
Is it possible that that's what they're doing? You don't make a show like this and bring in Haley Steinfeld without giving her a contract for multiple shows.
Right.
Jeremy Renner's talking about doing more, so maybe he's under contract or would like to come back, so we're more than happy to write him in.
D'Onofrio wants to come back.
Yelena's
we do have the Echo.
Yep, we have that.
Pugh. We do have the Echo show, so it would make sense that we could see any of these characters again in that show. Because they're already tied together, but that also feels obvious, Like I think it's something that we don't know about.
Yeah, like Hawkeye 2, like you said, it could literally be Kate and Yelena, and that's right. That could be Hawkeye season 2, and then Clint is just like he basically becomes Yelena in that series, like he played the limited role that Yelena played in this season.
And in the comics, he kind of becomes like a Batman Beyond. Like he kind of becomes a mentor to Kate. So like she'll call him or text him or whatever. Like he'll be there giving advice, but he's not necessarily with her, the whole time. So again, maybe he's the man in the chair in season 2, and she's out there doing whatever. Because it feels like from where Clint is, like he doesn't want to keep hoisting on the arrows, and like he wants to be done.
I thought they did a good job of that in this show, is that he did what he did not because he wanted to, but he's trying to tie up loose ends from his past
with the Ronin suit.
Yeah, and if that hadn't come out, he just would have gone home with his kids.
Right.
And it would have been like tracks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's kind of done. So
he's kind of done. But now he kind of gets roped back in because he's bringing Kate home. They are friends, which was, I don't know if he said, you're my friend or whatever, but he did say, you're my partner. Right. And you saw Kate Bishop be like, I've made it. And you felt like that as a viewer. You're like, oh, yes, you're like that. But so he's roped in one way or the other. If she's in trouble, he's going to have to be there for her. Right.
But like I said, he could also just be, like I said, the man on the phone, the man, man in the chair, and
I don't think that's
like
Clint,
he's kind of. I think he's kind of passed the torch to her to be Hawkeye,
right?
And he'll be there. It's the old Al Pacino line, right? Just when I thought that was out, they pulled me. Like he'll keep getting pulled back in, even though he doesn't want to. But
that's
to
the
what
thing.
degree? Degree he gets pulled in is
at the
question.
Beginning of this show. He was out, like out because
he was done.
Yeah, because Natasha was gone. That was his big tie. And everybody, all the Avengers, Thor's off world, all the, Tony's dead, Steve's gone, everything.
Right.
So like the past is the past now for him. The only thing is he just doesn't want the past. He didn't want the past to come back and haunt his family, so he had to tie up that one loose end. And in the meantime, he developed a relationship that basically sucked him back into a pseudo life of what he had before. Right. And now, and of course, you bring Yelena into this, and that you got the tie to Natasha. So, yeah, it's like you think you're out, but he didn't have any ties. Now he has plenty. I think that's why he was trying to avoid Kingpin. That's why they kind of wrote it that way. Like he's trying to avoid it because he doesn't want to get sucked back in. He doesn't want to have to deal with that. I want to get out before I have to deal with anything big enough. And it just didn't work. Now he's in. That's the thing. You say that it didn't have any impact or very little impact on the MCU, but we've just spent over an hour and going through the entire MCU for this grounded show that was supposed to not be. Going into this, how did you have it ranked? Going into it, like before you saw the show, where did you think, before any of the shows came out, where did you think you had this?
Low. It was probably one of the ones I was least looking forward to the least. Right. Not that I was ever not going to watch it, because we all know I was always going to watch it, but I don't think it was high up on my list. I mean, you knew they were going to do the Kate Bishop thing and all that, but
well, when we first heard about the show, we didn't even know if Clint was in it.
Right. We thought
it was originally just Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, weeks ago, I saw this idiot, and I hate to say it, but you're an idiot if you're on YouTube, saying that, well, clearly after like 3 episodes, he did a breakdown or something. I saw this guy, and it was like, if you're into this show for its blah, blah, like a gritty Hawkeye story, then you're sadly mistaken, or whatever he said, right? And you'd be like, well, one, it's Disney Plus.
Right.
That's your first mistake.
There's nothing
Where are you getting
about
gritty on Disney Plus with Hawkeye? And he's like, it's clearly just going to be the Kate Bishop show. And I'm like, it was supposed to be just a Kate Bishop show. There was one point where he was supposed to be fired because of something that happened with him or whatever. And it's like,
no, it was, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it was
speculating
a lot about Kate.
Rumors.
No, but I'm just saying. Like, It ended up being very balanced, though. Like, it wasn't all Kate. Like, it wasn't the Kate show. No,
like, I think it was the Clint Barton transition show, and Kate was the agitator of that, right? Whatever you want to call it. I'm not. But good with words.
Like I thought it was. It was like the big criticism of Masters of the Universe was like they got away from Adam and they made it the Tila and Evelyn show. But I didn't think this was that. Like, no. Yes, Kate and Yelena both had an Echo, for that matter. Like, they all had pretty big parts in it, but it was just as much the Clint. It was just as much a Clint Barton show,
Kingpin,
as it was. Yeah,
and you still have all of that, and I think the MCU is doing a really good job at integrating the quote-unquote diversity, right? You don't even know they're doing it. If you're a comic book fan. If you're not a comic book fan and you're just watching the MCU and you start, like we talked about with She-Hulk, oh, you got to make Hulk a female. Where have you been?
Well, right. Like, they didn't just...
This has been going on, and that's... Right. But I think that lends to how the MCU has been... They've been about diversity since the 60s.
Yeah, I say there's always a
She-Hulk. That's not new to them.
Not always, but She-Hulk's been around at least since 1980. So
no, I know that, but I mean,
time.
but not just with She-Hulk, but I mean,
no, I know what
the
you're
whole
saying,
idea, X-Men, the whole everything is all about inclusion and diversity and all of this stuff. So like actually integrating it into the MCU, it's completely natural. And
well, I mean, X-Men specifically, right? It's just all about racism and integration.
That's the idea. It's you just put it in a different form to point out the obvious to people that don't get it. Light shining on yonder rock. But but Marvel's always been about that. Yeah, exactly. So when you integrate it into the MCU, it's like you don't even realize by the end of like you look at Hawkeye, and you're like most of the main characters are all female. You have Clint. And I mean, he's just as strong as his wife. His wife is just as powerful. Like they have equal roles in their relationship. And then you have Kingpin. He's a strong male role here, but he's battling with his, father-daughter relationship. Or I put that in quotes, daughter. But you know what I mean? So it's like by the end of the show, it's highly entertaining and it's accurate to the Marvel. And at the end of it, you're like, oh, and that's what I like. It's not just let's wedge a square peg in a round hole here and make it, we're going to make a female character. Like, and I hate to say this because like what they did with Ghostbusters.
Right.
That, to me, that was like, we're going to make a female version of Ghostbusters. And it didn't work. It just didn't work because it was like, that to me felt obvious as opposed to everything they're doing here. It's like, it just feels natural and it's much, it doesn't mean it doesn't have its detractors. People still mention it, but they're just idiots. Maybe I'm an idiot for saying that about Ghostbusters. I don't know, but I just felt, to me, that one felt forced. Right. And this here just feels completely natural that at the end of it, you're like, I don't even realize it, but yeah, so I don't know what we're going to get next, but it's, what's the next show we get? Do you know that?
I'm not sure. It's either She-Hulk or Moon Knight, but I'm not sure which one comes first. I don't know. Yeah.
Next.
I don't know if they have, either one of them have release dates yet. So.
I don't even see Phase 4. I'll skip her. Oh, yeah. I don't know.
You could put in 2022 Marvel MCU schedule or something like that and see what comes up.
When was this? November 12th. Well, Captain Marvel 2 has been pushed to 2023.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange is May 6th. Thor 4 says July 8th. Black Panther 2 is in November.
Okay.
Yeah, the
shows aren't on the list yet.
Yeah, no. Just in this one article I'm looking at, it doesn't have the shows. It just went with that. The cinematic universe, that's why. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
When are we getting What If this year? Or is that in 23?
Not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Ugh. All right. My throat's getting there. Getting there with you. All right. We ready to wrap this up then?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we're ready. I'm getting closer and closer.
Yeah, well, I don't have any more to drink. So if I start coughing now, it's just
there you go. Let's see. Well, we wrapped up. We don't think Kingpin's dead. We think Yelena and Kate could make a great show,
team.
Hawkeye show.
Yelena and Kate +8.
All right. One last question. Does Kate's mom get out and redeem herself?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
I think she could, but maybe not.
Now we could see Swordsman again, though.
Yes. That's another character.
Because he was kind of he kind of got a little redemption arc too, right? Because
he didn't even need it. He didn't do anything wrong.
Well, right, but he was set up like you didn't know that through most of the show. Yeah. But you were kind of predisposed to not liking him through most of the show.
Right. As the shell game, you're like, ooh, look here. And it's I all along I thought it was the mom.
Did you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Because And it's nothing that the show did wrong, but it's like
just,
when
it's
you
always
watch
the
enough
thing.
television, you're like, it's never the first thing that they show you.
Right.
Right. It's
there's always the rope-a-dope thing going on.
Right. It's like like when you run a route in football, if you fake to the left and you cut to the right, and it's like you never go the first way you said to go.
Right.
You know, and you learn that. It's like the guy bit. It's like every now and then you'll do the first one, and then the defender looks like an idiot because you're like, why didn't you just follow him? Well, I was expecting him to cut back.
Right.
But it's never the first thing they show you. So you had to, and then it's usually the thing you'd never think it was. So you're looking on the screen, what do we think here? You know? So I thought that's why I just, watch enough television, you'd be like, yeah, all right. It's the mom all along. So, all right. We can wrap up from there.
Okay.
All right. We'll be back next week with a jam-packed real world.
Back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Jam-packed checkout. Let me see. Actually, let me see what my hockey schedule is next week, because we may have to. Yeah, I'll be if I'm all right for my skating on Wednesday or Tuesday. It looks like 9:20 on Tuesday, so we're gonna have to start early to jam all that 3-hour episode in.
Yeah.
So we will get it done. We will be back to normal next year, John. How about we put it off till next year?
Okay.
Does that sound good? We'll do it. We'll get back to normal next year. So. All right. That'll do it for us. Everybody have a great and safe Happy New Year. And we'll go with the old we'll see you next year.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Hey, Fred. This has been a Hey Fred production with theme music by